Are you driven to build wealth? We all want the good life, the nice house, the nice cars, travel, all of it. But not very many people get there. Well, this presentation is all about showing you how to grow wealth at a rate that most of you just don't believe is possible. But in this presentation, this is not one of those fluff webinars where you don't really get any value. I'm going to show you real world mathematical and analytical facts and paths on how you can grow wealth far faster than you ever imagined possible. My name is Mark Prather. I've been in the real estate industry since 1977. I got in it at 18. I got into the mortgage industry, started my own mortgage company, Mark One Mortgage, at the age of 22. I have our real estate wealth advisor program, our Mark One Wealth Academy, and visionary real estate opportunities. And my point is this, is I've been doing this a long time, 48 years. I've learned a lot from the transactional side, the financing side, the investing, the development. I've done pretty much everything you can do in this industry. And I've learned some really powerful strategies, both in investment, finance, and here's the gospel truth that you're going to get exposed to today. I've never seen anybody else teach these things. I didn't learn these things in classes. I learned them with my own investments and my own money through all the different transactions that I've been involved with over these last 48 years. I wrote a book called Why the Rich Stay Rich and the Poor Stay Poor. And here's why I titled it that. I come from a family with no education and no money. I mean, neither one of my parents even had high school diplomas. I've got a lot of family on both sides, but no one was rich and no one was very well educated at all. Here's what I learned from that and why I titled my book, Why the Rich Stay Rich and the Poor Stay Poor, is very few people ever change their life circumstance. Poor stay poor, middle class stay middle class, and rich stay rich, all for the same reason. They believe that's where they belong. So obviously rich people expect to be rich. They don't worry about whether they can become rich because they're already rich. But the poor should, and so do the middle class, and that fear and doubt paralyzes people. Now, I'm bringing this to your attention because if you're not rich, then I know the reality is you have great doubts and great fears that it's just not possible. And I can't help you with that. I wish I could make that go away, but there's nothing I can do. You have to have the courage and the determination. And that's why I call this program Driven to Build Wealth. If you are not driven to the point that you're going to power through those fears and doubts, it's never going to happen. But I can help you with the rest, and that's what I'm going to do in this presentation. So many of you that look at this and go, oh, this can't be real, and they're going to bail out already. You're going to quit that quickly. Don't do it. Watch this presentation because you're going to learn that wealth growth is far easier to build than you imagine and far faster. You can build serious wealth at a speed you never imagined possible. And I'm going to show you how that's possible in this presentation. So don't quit is the moral of the story. So let's move on. All right, grow your wealth 2 to 3 times faster than stocks. I'm going to show you how you can grow your wealth. Literally, when I say stocks, I'm talking about the S&P 500, the stock market, the broader stock market. And I'm going to show you some different analysis and how you can do your own analysis to prove using ChatGPT on how to do these kinds of things on your own to prove to you what I'm showing you and what I'm telling you is true. But I want you to wrap your mind around that. If I can show you to grow your wealth 2 to 3 times faster than stocks, where you can start with next to no money, and we're talking about return on investment in the 20 to 30% neighborhood. Now, if you're a seasoned, savvy investor, if you're a numbers guy, you got to say, oh, that's just BS right there. No, it's not. And watch, because I'm going to prove it to you as we get going. Number two is inflation. I like to say inflation is your best friend or your worst enemy. See, the government by design keeps inflation running at around, they try to set they say their target goal is 2%. Reality is it's more like 3. And they try to keep that because they're trying to keep a growth rate, because if there's no growth, people are never going to invest and the economy is going to go nowhere. They let that get out of control during COVID, and that created a real problem. But here's my point to you. If you don't know how to beat inflation, how to stay ahead of the game of inflation, and 90% of the people don't know how to do it, that's why 10% of the people in this country have over 70% of the wealth. It's that lopsided. You have to know how to beat inflation, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And number 3, the 5 economic benefits of real estate. In real estate, you make money 5 different ways. The first thing is you have to know those 5 different ways. But even more important than that is you have to know how to use them, how to strategically manipulate these 5 different economic engines. And that's how we can get your wealth growth to 2 to 3 times faster than the stock market, and do it with very little risk. I'll explain that to you as we go. The strategies to maximize return on investment. See, wealth growth is really about return on investment. The greater your return on investment, the faster your wealth is going to grow, the more money you're going to have. I'm going to show you how you can supercharge your return on investment. And that's how to replace your employment income with investment income. That is super important. See, the middle class believe it's all about saving money and living on it. That's not the way the wealthy roll. It's really about creating enough investment income that you only work because you want to work. Here's a report here that came out recently that I took a screenshot of U.S. wealth. Look at this. The top 1% have almost half the wealth. Now, this number, or these numbers, continue to widen between the wealthiest people and everybody else. The top 10% have 70% of the wealth. 10% have 70%. The top 20% of the people have like 80% of the wealth. And look at the bottom 50. The bottom 50, you can see it's only 2.4%. It's getting less and less. And then the difference in the middle is the middle class, basically, which is getting smaller and smaller. And the number one reason for this is because the middle class believe it's all about saving money, and you're never going to get rich if you're just relying on saving money in a 401k or IRA. You're barely staying ahead of inflation in a 401k or IRA. There's way better ways to do it, and I'm going to get into that as we go along. Here's the reality of most Americans. 65% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. 50% of Americans only have 2% of the wealth, which is what I was just showing you there. And if they were to retire, 80% will run out of money within 5 years. So it's not a good picture. And here's one of the key reasons is the mindset. See, the rich are taught the following, which is invest and never spend your principal, which means don't ever spend or liquidate your assets. You live on the earnings of your assets. And then you can see rule number 2, which is C rule number 1. Never spend or liquidate the assets. That's why there's generational wealth. That's why the wealthy just keep getting more and more wealthy, because they never touch that. The middle class are taught exactly the opposite, which is save as much as you can and live on it. Not a good path. There are 3 keys to reaching financial security. First, and then we want to go to wealth and serious wealth. Number 1, financial security is about investment income, not saving money. I'm going to show you the big difference of that. Number 2 is acquire income producing asset using other people's money. And this is really the X factor, is the OPM, or the other people's money, is how you can grow wealth at an insane rate. And I'm going to show you how to do that and do it where it is not risky. It is very, very safe. And we'll get into the details of that in a moment. Number 3, grow wealth and income exponentially by 5x in your wealth growth. And here's what I'm talking about: mastering the 5 economic benefits of real estate. All right, key number one, building wealth is not about saving, it's about acquiring assets. It's almost impossible for the average person to save enough money to become financially secure in a 401k or IRA. You have to save a lot. The average person, as you saw in there, 65% of the people live paycheck to paycheck. If you're a middle income person and you're doing a great job saving, try to retire without spending that savings. Almost impossible for middle income Americans. They have to live on it. And when you start to live on your life savings, it becomes very stressful because of the fact that you don't know how long you're going to live and you don't want to run out of money. This is the strain on the middle class and why many middle class people live in what I call financial survival mode their entire life, living on financial survival where every expense, you worry about every expense is no fun. But that's where the majority of middle income Americans are. Now, here's a chat GPT analysis that I ran just to give you an idea. If let's say you put $100,000 into the S&P 500 in the year 2000. So we run this forward 25 years. How much would that $100,000 grow? Well, here's what you can see. It turns into this annualized rate of 7.98 over the 25 years. So the 100,000 basically turns into $712,000 over that 25-year period. Now, let's take it another step further. What would be the earnings on that? This is where most people are completely unaware of the income. Remember, I said retirement's not about living on your life savings. It's about living on the income. Well, look at the income. Over the last 25 years, the S&P 500 has averaged about 1.25%. So that means if you had that 712,000 at 1.25, your annual earnings are only $8,900. Divide that by 12. It's peanuts, right? You can't live on that. This is the big difference. So that's why when you're sitting down with a financial advisor, he's never going to tell you to, hey, let's save you as much as you can and live on the earnings because he knows it's not realistic. But that's what the wealthy do. And I'm going to show you how you can get into this game, master it. You don't need a lot of money. You can grow wealth at a ridiculous rate. But more importantly, is you can grow the income. It's about investment income. We want to create as much investment income as possible. We want to replace your employment income as quickly as possible so that you work because you want to work, not because you have to work. All right, key number 2 is acquire high income producing asset using other people's money. Know the cap rate and return on investment. Now, here's why I say that. There are a lot of people in the real estate industry. Everybody knows a realtor. Ask the agent if they know the cap rate on particular properties. They don't know. Here's why. They're not trained in that. They're not trained in real estate as an asset class, an investment, and an income producing asset. What they're trained in is how to find buyers or sellers, how to sign a contract, how to complete that contract, how to negotiate that contract and run it through escrow, and how to execute a sale. That's what they know. That's what I call commodity sales. They're treating the property as if it were a refrigerator, a washer, dryer, but not as the greatest income producing asset that the average person can access and grow incredible wealth. You have to know these numbers and how to analyze them and how to manipulate these numbers. Now, I will tell you, in Orange County, 3.5% to 4% is kind of a standard capitalization rate. Now, what that means, and I'm not going to get into all this right here, but it means capitalization means like interest. Like if you were to put money in the bank and they were to pay you 4%, well, basically your capitalization rate or cap rate is 4% on that money. Well, this is basically the same thing for real estate assets. This is the beginning. Now, I didn't say this is going to be simple. It's complex. That's why I created our Wealth Academy and how we're going to train you, hold your hand, guide you through this as an expert advisor. And I know you're thinking, oh God, this is going to cost me all kinds of money. You're not going to believe that I'm going to show you how you can get all of this education and guidance for no cost. So don't panic on me yet. All right, number two, condos and townhomes, low cash flow and return on investment. Why? Because they have HOA fees, they have all other fees. Condos are better than renting, but they're low return on investments in real estate. Number three, single family residence. They're these are much better than condos, and what's best is the ones that are fixer uppers, the beaters, because you can really increase the value and the cap rate or the cash flow when you make the improvements. And number four is units, adding ADUs or 2 to 4 units of multi-units. There's also commercial and other categories, but we're going to stick in the residential, the 1 to 4 category, which is where most people are. And I'm going to show you how you can manipulate these using other people's money, get into these carpets, and create incredible wealth growth. Now, here's another quick chat GPT analysis that I did in showing this is using current market growth rates. And I asked this, I said, based on current market growth rates, if we did a 10-year analysis from 2020 to 2030 and investing $100,000, what would be the wealth growth difference? And you can see in the stock market, the S&P 500 goes to 310,000. The real estate, 883,000. Not even close. The real estate just blows away the stock market because of those 5 economic benefits. Exponential wealth growth, meaning we're going to show you how to grow money many different ways simultaneously. But here's the key. Is we want to maximize money by mastering leverage and cash flow. Now, there's 5 economic benefits. I'm going to go over each one in detail. But here's how you can create 20 and even 30% annual return on investment consistently. And it's by mastering the leverage factor. But then also, you got to know the cash flow, the cap rates. This is where all this comes into, and how to manipulate these. And I'm going to show you how to do all of that so you can become a master expert, because all of us want to grow wealth as rapidly as possible. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you step by step the 5 economic benefits. You can see them on your screen: leverage, mortgage pay down or your principal pay down, rental cash flow, tax benefits, and appreciation. I have a little poker chip presentation that I do. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. You're going to see my camera. I'm going to put it on my desk so you can see the presentation. So here I am. All right, now let's zoom down here on my desk so you can see my presentation on the poker chips. And then we'll go back up to the slideshow in a moment. All right, let's say you have $1 and you put it in the bank and you get 2% interest. So $1 is 2 cents. Now, here's the good news to putting the money in your bank. It's not going to get you're not going to lose it like in the stock market with some bad investment. But the bad news is everything else. The return is really low. You're never going to get rich this way. So the money in the bank is, you need to have a bank account to pay your bills, have a little bit for a rainy day, but that's about it. Now let's say we put another $1 in your 401k or IRA and you get 8% return. So here's 2, 4, 6, 8. Now the reality is, for most of you, if you put your money in a 401k or IRA, you're not going to average 8%, even if the stock market averages that much. And here's the reason: is they're going to put your money in usually 3 or 4 different buckets. Those buckets include aggressive growth, more conservative growth, moderate growth funds, even more conservative, or even fixed income. So that's why the growth rate. And then they're not free money managers. They're going to charge you fees and expenses. So you're not going to generally average around 8%. But let's say you get the 8%. So $1, you get 8%. Here's the 8 cents. Here are the challenges with getting or achieving financial security with your 401k or IRA. It doesn't help you along the way, meaning in your 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s, not till you're 59 and a half, can you access the money without a big penalty. So you're saving money, which is like a bill, which means it is making your daily lifestyle more challenging. There's no income coming from it, so it doesn't help you along the way. Then when you access it, you got to pay full ordinary income tax, state and federal tax, at the higher rates, which is a lot. So basically about 30% of this money for most people is not even their money. It's going to all go to the government. So these are the factors that you have to deal with when you're trying to save money in a 401k or IRA. Now let's compare it to buying a property. let's say we use $1 and we buy a $10 property. We get 9 from the bank. Here's 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So this is the other people's money part, the leverage part. So here's why real estate. There's 2 key reasons why stocks cannot compete with real estate, and it's not close. Here's number 1, the leverage factor. Where do you think you would rather be? Starting a race from 10 or 1? Well, obviously 10. This is a gigantic head start, 10 to 1, right? So we borrow the money. So let's say I'm the lender, I loan you this money. So now you start from 10, you have a $10 asset, enormous advantage. California real estate is average appreciating 7.3% a year, dating back to 1968. Even since COVID, when interest rates went up, real estate sales dropped about 30 to 40%, depending on the marketplace. And everybody kept saying, property values got to come down, got to come down, got to come down. Didn't come down. In fact, they kept going up, and they've been averaging about 6 to 10%, depending on what zip code you live in. So I'm not going to use 7.3%. I'm only going to use 5%. So 5% of $1 is 5%. 5% of $10 is 50. Let me show you what that looks like. Here's 20. Here's 30 and 40. And here's 50. So we've only covered 2 economic benefits, leverage and appreciation, and we've already blown away the stock market. But there's 3 more. The next one is principal reduction. So every time you make a payment, a percentage of its principal reduction, so your loan balance is going down, means your equity is going up. Next is rental cash flow. Now, if it's your home, you're not getting any rental cash flow unless maybe you're renting a room, which a lot of people are doing nowadays. But here's the real powerful benefit. Remember I said there's 2 major reasons why you can grow wealth at a rate through real estate that you cannot through stocks. One's the leverage. Here's the second, it's the cash flow. And here's what makes it unique is the utility value. Here's what that means. You have money in the stock market. There's no utility. It's just stock certificate. It's just paper. Can't use it for anything. But when you own real estate, you have land and a structure. So you have a tangible asset. It's not going anywhere. It's not going out of business. It's not like Sears and all these businesses that fail. It's a tangible asset that's not disappearing. So if I'm the bank and I loan you this money to buy a property, and then you rent it, and the tenant pays you rent and basically pays off your mortgage. So if I loan you this money, let's say it's $100,000, and someone else pays off the $100,000, then isn't the $100,000, doesn't that become free money? And the answer is absolutely. So the question I always like to ask people is, how much free money should you create in your lifetime? The obvious answer is as much as possible. So that's the other thing. It's the utility value. So it's the leverage and utility value of real estate, allowing you to sell the utility value to a tenant. So basically, if you have a rental, you're in the hotel business. Hotels are in business, and their business is renting bedrooms and ballrooms. If you have a rental house, you're in the hotel business, but you're renting bedrooms and bathrooms basically, and taking advantage of that utility value. But here's the other reality. Unlike stocks, you're in business, which creates another big benefit, and that's tax benefits. You can create all kinds of tax-free income with all the write-ups of real estate, and the biggest one being the depreciation. And here's what that means, is when you own real estate, you have land. You cannot depreciate the land, but you have the structure. So let's say you have $1 million structure. So let's say that structure is $1 million, or I should say that the real estate's $1 million. 75% of it, we say, is the structure. That means $750,000. We can depreciate that, which means we take the $750,000, divide it over 27 and a half years. So that's about something like $27,000 a year. And that means you get that $27,000 a year in tax-free income. So that means this rental income that's coming in, the first $27,000 all tax-free. Pretty awesome, right? So that's the thing with these 5 economic benefits. Now here's where it gets better. Remember I said about generating a 20 to 30% return on investment? What if you could average, let's say 15 to 20% conservatively, safely, every single year, year after year after year, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25, 30 years, versus 7 to 8% in the S&P 500, minus the 1.5%, minus the fact that they're going to diversify your account, and you're going to end up at 5%. 5% versus 15 to 20 with tax-free income. I'm going to show you how to master the manipulation of all of this. That's what we can do. All right, so let me get back to sharing my screen and finishing our presentation. All right, next, here's another little analysis that I did with the Chat GPT, comparing the wealth growth of real estate versus equity. So here you can see the equity, the stock market growth versus the real estate and the annual cash flow. It's not even close. Now here's the next level. The first part of this is understanding the 5 economic benefits and how you can grow wealth 5 different ways. But I'm going to try to take this to a much higher level, and how to maximize your return on investment so that you can stay in that 15 to 20% is a safe, easy number. If you're younger, you can take a little bit more risk and maybe go 25 or 30%. I'm going to teach you how to do all of this stuff. Now, one of the other things I always like to tell you is, look, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to teach you. Is your threshold for risk may be different from mine. And the older you get, the more conservative you want to get with your investing. And we'll help you with all the education so that you can make the right decisions. But here's the next thing. What are the best properties to invest in? Well, again, I'm not here to be critical of agents, because agents are doing their job selling properties. But you have to be aware, 10% are experts in real estate investment. 90% are not. You have to know how to analyze the properties. You have to know the difference between what property is a great investment that's going to grow you wealth at a really rapid rate and grow income for you at a really rapid rate. That is completely different from identifying a home that you love, that you want to live in because it's got great tile, a great granite, or a beautiful kitchen or whatever, and it's in the neighborhood that you want to be in. That is secondary. Buying a home for the lifestyle that you want for your family is not buying it necessarily as an investment. Now, you have to decide. I think both elements need to be there. I'm a believer that you need to have a house that works for your family, but it needs to be a good investment also. But that's up to you. But if you don't work with an agent that knows real estate as an investment, you're going to be in trouble. Here's what we do and what I created, which is I call our best priced properties algorithm. We created a proprietary financial algorithm where it will analyze real estate from 9 different categories. These are all financial components that every property has. We enter all this data from these properties, and it will analyze the property and issue a rating so that you can compare, say, hey, does this property here in Anaheim versus this property over in Lake Forest or whatever. We can compare all these properties, different areas, different size, and it'll tell you which ones are the best investment. Now, again, keep in mind, this is not a lifestyle decision about how beautiful the house is. No, this is an investment decision. But this makes a complicated process very simple. So this is the next bit of expertise that we bring to you, which is identifying the properties that you're going to make the most money on in wealth growth and investment income, because that's the process. If you are driven to become wealthy, I'm going to show you the shortcuts. There are shortcuts, and they're powerful, and this is an integral part of that. Here's where we go to your path to financial security, and how we get started is we do a custom plan for you. Now, whether you're a renter, let's say you're a young person making some decent money and you want to get into the real estate game, but you also want to become wealthy as fast as possible, there's a path and a plan to do that, and we will sit down and help you with that plan. If you're a homeowner and you've got a lot of equity, well, we can put you on turbocharge, and you can grow serious wealth into the tune of millions of dollars way faster than you imagine possible. If you're a senior, that's a whole different strategy. If you're looking to get to retirement like ASAP, then we have a path for you as well. If you're already retired and you're kind of looking at saying, hey, I'm running out of money. How do I fix this? We will help you with that as well. And if you're already an investor in the game with a couple rentals, 2, 3, 4 rentals, we need to assess all those. Are those rentals performing well for you in two categories? What's the return on investment you're getting? Is it good? And what's your cap rate? Do you know your cap rate on your rentals? Most investors don't know. And the reason they don't know is because their realtors don't know, because they're dealing with a realtor that doesn't really understand real estate as an investment. Next, your borrowing power. That means what kind of income do you have? What kind of bills? What kind of credit score? So how much can you borrow? Because that will determine your buying power. So we build a plan. So we got to get that information. We're going to analyze high income producing properties, financial security, wealth, quality of life. Living the life of your dreams is about replacing your employment income. I'm going to show you how to do that at a rate way faster than you could ever do in a 401k or IRA. You don't need to wait till you're 59 and a half. We can get you into retirement in 15 years or less with saving next to no money, because the real estate does all the heavy lifting. Our trusted advisors are going to help you with all this and analyze it. And what I'm talking about is our real estate wealth advisors. What I have done is I've learned a lot of powerful shortcuts. It really is the right way to put it. Is there strategies, but there's shortcuts to wealth growth, return on investment, retirement, financial security, however you want to look at it. They are strategies that will put you at light speed. But very few people know this stuff. So I've created a new category, what we call the real estate wealth advisor. Now, if you're an agent and you want to elevate your game and you don't want to just sell houses as a commodity like the refrigerators, and you want to be a real estate wealth expert, then that's another conversation. And you can reach out to me and we'll show you how we can get you on that path. But that's what our trusted advisors are. You can go to our website, mark1wealthacademy.com, and I train our advisors, and this is what we get into, because once you go through this process with a couple investments, you will become an expert on that. And then if I understand the different markets to invest, now this is super important. LA versus Orange County versus Inland Empire, California versus out of state. Which is the best choice for you? I'm going to answer that question for you in our consultation. I'm going to show you. Here's a question for you. I want you to think about this. If you're younger, let's say you're 40, is it better to invest in California or out of state? Conversely, if you're 65, is it better for you to invest in California or out of state? There's a difference, huge difference, and you need to know why, what the difference is and why, and I'm going to show you what that is. All right, our 4 different personalized investment plans. On the renters, if you are starting from zero, here's what you need. You don't need a lot of money. In fact, $1,000 really all you need as a renter. Here's what you do need. You need a good credit score, meaning about 640 or higher. You need good income. And then from there, we can get you on a path to generating incredible wealth. And I'm talking multi-million dollars of wealth. If you're a homeowner, we need to take a look at how long you've owned your home. How much equity do you have? What is your goal? There are 2 different goals, generally speaking. It's either I want to retire as soon as possible, or I want to become as rich as possible. And they're 2 totally different plans. Senior homeowners, I mentioned, if you're worried about, either you're worried about getting to retirement or you're retired and you're worried about staying retired, that's a whole different plan. And then the investors. If you're looking to build a legacy of wealth, generational wealth for your children and your children's children, we can help you with that and how to position yourself so that all of this transitions from you to them, and you're protecting it, and you're dealing with avoiding taxes and all that kind of stuff. Now, here's a slide that I want to make you aware of and what's going on in America today and why Americans are being crushed financially. You can see this is from 2020 to now. The red is inflation, the CPI. This is COVID. This is the COVID effect. In March of 2020, COVID basically took control of this country. The economy started locking up. The Fed dropped interest rates basically down to 0. because you can see inflation, we were about to go contraction. The economy, had the Fed not stepped in, the economy would have been to a depression like the 30s, maybe even worse. So this was smart. The Fed needed to do this by dropping rates and pouring tons of money into the economy. The economy started to turn, and then we started to see inflation went to zero. Then it started coming back in 2020. Here we are in 2021. Inflation is only 1.5%. Then we're at mid 2021. We're about 2. Everything's good. But look what starts to happen. We get to 3%. This is about April. And now we got a problem at 4%. Here we are in May, June. And what is the Fed doing? Nothing. The Fed blew it. When inflation got to 3%, they should have started doing what they did here. They should have started staircasing it up a little bit at a time. They did nothing for a whole year. Inflation continued to skyrocket all the way up to 9%. Real estate prices skyrocketed. Rents skyrocketed. Prices of cars, everything skyrocketed. And we have an affordability crisis in this country right now for just about everything. And the jobs market is feeling it. Now, rates have come up. Now they're starting to ease their way down. They've got inflation down around 2%. But here's the big mistake that they made, and here's the exciting opportunity. Is the jobs market is weak, and it's going to get weaker for probably the next 6 months, which means the rates are going to continue to come down. We are in a transitionary stage where real estate prices are soft, meaning they're negotiable. There was an article in the Orange County Register saying about half of the properties in Orange County prices have come down, 5 to 10%. But we're already 30-year fixed rates are under 6%. They're in the high 5s. They're going to continue to come down. The fourth quarter is always the slowest time. Things are going to start to transition. But the best time to buy is right now, the fourth quarter of the year. Why? Because there's inventory and soft prices and good rates. That's a trifecta. We don't have that very often, but that is not going to last through March. I'm telling you, when we get into April, May, by March, you're going to start to see the buyers really coming out. By April, the buyers are going to be out. The prices are going to be going up again. The demand, it's going to be hard to find property and all that. So there's about a 6-month window of opportunity that's happened because of all the stuff that the Fed was doing. All right, so how to build a multi-million-dollar net worth with our custom plan. We're going to put that plan together for you. And right now, I'm sure you're thinking, oh my God, how much is it going to cost me? I'm going to show you how to get it for free. Number one, are you a renter, homeowner, investor? We're going to start with that. We have a little form for you to fill out. Your age is really important. I want to know, are you 30 years old? Are you 60 years old? Do you want to retire ASAP? Do you never want to retire? That's part of your financial goals. Maximum return on investment or maximum income or a little bit of both. Okay, so that depends on where you are in life. The younger you are, the more wealth, but we want to focus more on maximum return on investment. The older you are, the more we want to focus on income. And if you're in the middle, we want to be in the middle. All right, in the middle means like 45 to 55 kind of thing. And then how to make you financially bulletproof, which means put you in a place where you'll never go broke, that you could, where you can't lose everything. If there's a major hit like another COVID environment or some kind of real significant financial meltdown like 2008, that you're bulletproof from it. We'll show you how to do that in your investment plan. So how we make money is one of two ways. One is you can hire us as a consultant. We will give you a personalized custom plan for $1,000 and do all that. And you can hire us as a consultant at $500 an hour. But that's not the way we really want to do it. Here's what we really want to do is we want you to be a client for our real estate wealth advisor network and our mortgage company. We will provide a service. There's a standard services agreement, a buyer agreement that we'll put together. It's a 1-year agreement. All of this comes free. And you're making a commitment to work with our real estate wealth advisors and with our mortgage company to help you with this transaction. So you can get the best expertise in the real estate investment space in the industry, bar none, with no cost. You cannot beat that. Go to realestatewealthadvisors.com is our website. On the top, on the navigation bar, you will see a place where you can schedule an appointment. You can also download our client information sheet. The client information sheet will probably take you 4 minutes to fill. It's super simple. It's just the basics. It's kind of a big overview of where you are financially as far as renter, homeowner, or investor. Very simple. And schedule your appointment. Right now, we have people all over Southern California. We're planning on expanding beyond that. But let's get started with, there's nothing to hold you back because it's not going to cost you anything. Here's the key. If you're unemployed, I can't help you. But if you are a middle income earner, which is basically probably 75 grand a year or more, you need to learn this. You need to have this multi-million dollar plan, because if you're 65, different story. But if you're 45, 50 years or younger, we can show you how to create millions of dollars in wealth growth and investment income. So why the rich stay rich and the poor stay poor? The title of my book on Amazon is number one is belief. What do you believe is possible? Now, I know that reality, I've learned this. 90% of you believe you can never be rich. You're not going to do anything with this webinar, and you're just going to blow it off going, hey, it's just not possible for me. And that's a shame, and I really feel sad for you. I mentioned I come from a family of no education, no money. Well, here I am, 67, so let's say from the time I was a kid to now, 60 years later, I'm the only one in my family that's wealthy because I wouldn't quit. I was driven to build wealth, but it's not about the money. What it's about is enjoying life. And the big question I wanted answered in my life is, what is possible? I wanted the answer to that. And I told myself, I will not quit until I get the answer to what is possible in my life. Could I be wealthy? Could I go to Europe? Could I have a multi-million dollar house? Could I drive, the nicest cars in the world? Could I do all of those things? And the answer turned out to be yes. And I learned secrets, powerful secrets, life-changing secrets. I can change your life. That's the gospel truth. But I can't change what you believe about yourself. I wish I could. I wish there was a magic wand to get you to have the drive that I've had, to have the determination, to have the courage, to have that drive to say, I will not quit. If you have that, then you need to schedule an appointment, because I am committed to changing your life. Here's where I'm at. I'm 67. My journey here there's not that much time left. I want to change the lives of as many people as I possibly can. I do not want to die with all of this information in my head and not in the minds and hearts of as many people as possible. That's why I'm making this as easy as possible. And if you want to learn more about me and my commitment, go to markprather.com. That's my evangelization website. I bet you feel like I'm evangelizing to you now. And I am kind of, right? But number two is knowledge. We got to get past the belief. Don't quit. Have the drive. I will give you the knowledge. Let me repeat that. I will give you the knowledge, but I can't give you the courage. And number three is faith. Faith means you have to take action. Faith is trust. And trust in who? Trust in me to teach you. Trust in the information. Trust in the process. But mostly trust that God wants you to have a great life. And I can tell you that is so. But He is not going to give it to you. You have to earn it. I want to share with you my favorite verse in the Bible. According to your faith, be it unto you. Matthew 9:20. Now here's what this means. According to what you trust, where do you put your trust? So will be your life. You think about that. I hope you have the courage, the drive, the determination to have the best life possible. You bring that, I'll get you the rest and get you on the path, and you will make money at a ridiculous level. You will grow wealth at a rate you never believed is possible. And I will show you and introduce you to people that we've been helping on this path for years now. I'm Mark Prather, founder of Mark One Mortgage, the Mark One Real Estate Wealth Academy, Visionary Investments, and a number of other things I'm working. My book, Why the Rich Stay Rich and the Poor Stay Poor, is on Amazon. I have my faith journey book, In Pursuit of the Truth, also on Amazon. Go to markprather.com if you want to learn more about who I am and what I'm about. This is Serena Jack, my VP, but we're here to change your life, get you on this path of becoming wealthy. I hope you have the drive and, even more important than that, the courage. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.